This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
After a while, I just realized that, if you want to be at the top with racing, things will break. If you can't handle it, then, it's not for you. But parts will break constantly.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Welcome back to another episode of Do It for a Living. I'm Kevin Dubois. Today we've got Gidi Chamdi of Diamonds by Wire Racing. If you've been at any of the major street racing, or I should say street car racing events, such as like Texas 2K, the Buschur Shootout, or even a lot of the half-mile events such as Shift S3ctor or Wanna Go Fast, Gidi is a regular at most of these events, and he's a regular of the fastest people out there. He's got several incredibly fast cars, and he's going to share his story on kind of what got him into racing and, what he does to be successful. And he is very successful, I might add. And so we'll kind of hear from that. But before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know about our webpage, doitforliving.net. Check it out. We've got a lot of resources on there for people who are in the industry, who run a business, who want to work in the industry. Just check it out, and we've got different business topics that can help you grow your business. We've also got the PRI show coming up next week. I should say this week. On Friday at the PRI show, we have free beer, booth 4548. So come and say hi to us and show us that you are a subscriber to the podcast, and we'll give you a glass of beer. And on Wednesday, which is 2 days from today, we will have our EOS class in room 202. So that one you can find information on at EFI101.com, and you can attend it. It's a class that's going to teach you how to run your business better. It's an all-day course from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m., and we will provide lunch as well for that. And we do have a shorter version of the class, which is just called 2 Key Metrics to Success for an Aftermarket Shop. That will be held Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. at room 234 at the Convention Center. That one's just a 90-minute quick idea of what we teach in the full class, and it will give you a good idea of what to look for in your business to help grow it. Okay, so let's get started here with Gidi. Gidi, how are you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Gidi, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and I want you to go ahead and get started and tell us, where are you from? Tell us the background, your education. Where did you get started with racing?
I was born in Israel. I immigrated to the U.S. in 1985 with my family. Racing started for me not too long ago, about four years ago. It kind of started by accident. I didn't really grow up crazy about cars. It just happened by accident. I was on a flight about 4 years ago. I was on a flight to Asia, and I happened to glance on magazines because I was bored at the flight, and I saw a car magazine, and there was an article about a GTR, this car that everybody was talking about, and I was intrigued by the car, and I just kept thinking about the car after the trip. I started doing some more research on the car, read some more magazines, and I really was interested in actually going and seeing it in person. And after a while, when I start when something gets into my head, I usually end up buying it. So it definitely got into my head, and I ended up buying the car in April of 2012. It was a 2013 edition at the time. It was a blue GTR at the time, and I really fell in love with the car. The car is amazing. I started, driving it around, and then I did some research about exhaust and a tune, and how you start from the bottom up. So from really by accident, and then somebody told me about this event called Shift S3ctor. They had this little get together at Willow Springs. So I ended up going over there. It was a 7-hour drive. We took the car down, me and a friend, and we drove over there. And I met this guy. His name was Jason from Shift S3ctor, Jason Huang. So he took me around actually on the track for the first time, and he kind of showed me. I really had no idea what I was doing, and I never drove a car on the track, and he took me around, and I instantly fell in love with it. I mean, it was just like, wow. It was so much fun for me. And then at the end of that event, it was a road course event. At the end of that event, they said, hey, let's do a little bit of a kind of like a roll race, just for fun for you guys, because they had some extra time. And we ended up doing the roll race, and I ended up winning it. And that was it. That's as if I took my first hit of an unbelievable drug, and I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And then I came home with the car and then started the upgrades. We started with the exhaust and the tune, and then I spoke to ACG Automotive in San Diego. I did some research and spoke to ACG Automotive, and I wanted to do an Alpha 10 package. Okay. Like 1,000 horsepower, 1,100 horsepower. We were going to start with an Alpha 9, but I said, let's just jump to the Alpha 10 because I know how it's going to be. I'm going to want more. So we jumped from the entry level is an Alpha 9, and then you go Alpha 10. But I ended up going Alpha 10 right away, and it was just incredible. I remember when I got the car back, and I was driving with James in the car, and it's intoxicating. So we built the car for the purpose of it was the Shift Sector, the second Shift Sector ever at Coalinga. And we ended up going there, and I think we got first place again, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was against ETS at the finals, and I'm pretty sure we got first place. I don't remember because we did so many events since then. But that was it. I mean, basically, it was just from there. It just took off, and we went from an Alpha 10, then we jumped to an Alpha 14. We bypassed the Alpha 12. From Alpha 14, we jumped to an Alpha 16. We won Shootout with Alpha 16 set up.
Yeah, I was there for that one.
Yeah, that was a blast. And then we jumped to an Alpha 18. We did one event with the Alpha 18, and then we went to an Alpha 20, which is what the blue car stayed at before we lost that car. But it was basically as high as you can go at the time. And this was all AMS packages. I decided to go with AMS just because it's a shop that, when I started, I remember watching videos on YouTube and seeing all their work and Alpha Omega and all that stuff. So I just decided to go with AMS, and I'm glad I picked that shop because I've been with them ever since, and it's been a great relationship.
Okay. Your background is not obviously in racing, and Diamonds by Wire is your sole sponsor, but I'm assuming that's your company. Is that a business you own?
Yes, Diamonds. Well, there's two companies. There's CHA Corp and Diamonds by Wire. CHA Corp is a parent company of Diamonds by Wire. Okay. CHA Corp is the wholesale side. Diamonds by Wire is the retail side.
Okay, and you're not really big at advertising. Every car I've seen is very small. It's just very subtle. It's just you're not the big flamboyant race car with stickers all over it, right?
Yeah, honestly, if it was up to me, I'd have no stickers on it, just because I just want the car to be the car and not to push something on somebody. But I have to. I'm sponsoring the car, so I have to have the stickers on it. Just subtle. I don't like anything too loud and crazy, so we put a few stickers on the car, and just it's more for an identity.
Yeah. And that you have made for yourself.
Yes.
So do you think of yourself as an entrepreneur? I mean, you're obviously a business owner.
I don't know. I don't label myself as such. I think I'm a working man. I wake up, go to work, try to do the best I can, and make some money so I can spend some more money on the cars. But that's what I concentrate on, really. Okay.
And you're in San Francisco, right? That's where you're based out of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are all your cars there, or are they with the shops building them?
No, the cars are always with the shops. We're constantly improving. There's new parts that are going on. Alpha G is honestly almost a platform that we use new stuff on. Like, it was the first one to get the billet block, other than Omega, but Omega is no longer with AMS. But Alpha G was the one we used the billet block, and we actually pushed it to the max with Alpha G, and they use a lot of new parts that they're trying on Alpha G. So, it's not a car that I would drive on the street anyway, so there's no reason for it to be here. The same with the Lambos. They're staying at UGR, Underground Racing in North Carolina. just only because, if you want to stay on top, the cars have to constantly be upgraded. There's new parts that always have to go in the car. You never stop. It doesn't, you don't put the new parts and then go to sleep for a year. It constantly evolves.
Right, exactly. And what you've put together with the Diamonds by Wire Racing, it's more or less just you're the driver and they're just your cars, and you just kind of put a label on what you're doing as a like you said, an image that you're kind of advertising, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much. I don't work on the cars just because I'm a driver, not a mechanic. I didn't grow up as a mechanic. Mm-hmm. Honestly, at this level, people can work on their cars. That's fine. But if you really, really want to push the envelope and to have to maximize what you can do with a car at this level where we're at right now, I have to let the professionals.
There's few people who can do that. Even from people who working at shops, there's very few people who can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's basically a new frontier. I mean, we're at 2,500 wheel horsepower right now. I mean, this is uncharted territory. Everything that is being tried is just a trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. And so some of your successes very recently, you did set the GTR ET record, and it didn't last long, but it was. I mean, you're at the very pinnacle of this race, I guess, for sixes. But you did was it a 712? Is that what it was?
714.
714. Okay, and that was 200. How was the speed?
212 miles an hour.
Okay, that's very high.
Well, the funny thing is we had so much more left in the car. That was at 60 pound of boost. That car can handle 70. Okay. And the track was just getting warmed up. We were just getting to put all the power down, and we have a lot more power left. So, I mean, the car is capable of the sixes. There's no doubt about it. Everything just has to come together at the right time, with the track being ideal for being able to put the power down. But it's there. We're there. We just have to get that perfect day again, like we did that last time. And get that six. And
you and AMS put together a video for it, and what's really funny is when you watch the video, you came in, it's like, it wasn't that good, and they're like, you set the record, man.
Yeah, it's funny. They before that we ran the 722, which was the U.S. record, okay. And everybody was jumping around. So when I did my run, you have no idea about how fast you went, because you're in the car, you don't know, you can't see the board. So when I came around, everybody was just kind of like standing around, and I was like, man, if they stand around, that means I didn't do very well. So in my mind, it was like a punch in the gut when I came around that corner and everybody was standing around, but they planned it the whole time. So when I pulled up, they said, yeah, we got it. It's just incredible because there's so much work and so much failure. People only see the good side of it when we get the record, but they don't see the times that we go out and break parts. And I mean, we have times where we go to the track and one pass, boom, put it back on the trailer, we're gone. Something broke, and we got to do it again. There's a lot of heartaches that we go through, and it's when everything comes together and it works, it's an unbelievable feeling.
Definitely, and we'll get into more of how everything breaks here in a minute. But I wanted to touch on your half mile racing. So you do that in I think you've done it in the GTR as well, but you do that in the you have a TT UGR. Is it a Gallardo, or which one is it?
Yeah, we have two of them, two Gallardos basically, but the one that everybody sees all the time is a white Gallardo, 2013.
And that was a half mile record holder as well for a little while, or maybe still is.
Yeah, it was for a while until another teammate broke it.
Okay, and that was like 240-ish range?
241, and then he went 243, then I went 244, and he went 247. So he's currently at the 247, first place with the 247. We'll be at 250 in the next event. I believe we'll hit 250.
Wow, that's crazy. Safety has got to be a pretty big concern at that level too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're wearing suits. The funny thing is, I've always resisted it, but it's something that I've grown to accept now at this point. The suits and the Hans device and the gloves and at this point, if anything goes wrong at this speed, there's not much that's going to be left. So. Yeah, we do as much as we can as far as safety.
Yeah, because I think at the Texas Mile, I think there was a Lambo that flipped and rolled. I think that was just this fall too. It's pretty scary because the cars they're going so fast when it does something like that does happen, that you want to have the strongest cage you could possibly have in it.
Yeah. At those speeds, it's scary when things go wrong. The only thing that scares me, that I'm worried about, honestly, when we're going that fast, is the tires, to blow a tire or something. Other than that, we're pretty solid on everything else.
And you've had an incident yourself with the blue car, and because I was watching it when it happened, it looked like something just you said oil or fuel sprayed on a tire and you just went right into the wall, and it wasn't like a crazy accident, but the car was done for. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a hose that was rubbing against one of the axles, and it was rubbing for a while. And the hose is a really strong hose that they use, but it kept rubbing, and the funny thing is, I thought on that run, I told Martin, because we kind of got I red lighted the run before and got out of the competition, and on that last run I told Martin, give me a lot of power, let's make a nice big run. So he said okay. Well, he gave me a lot of power, and that run would have been huge if we would have made it, but the hose decided to break and it sprayed oil on the back tires, and that was the end of it. You have no control once the tires hit the oil. You can brake, you can turn the wheel, you can do whatever. You're just there for the ride. There's nothing you can do.
And that car is not the same one as the Alpha G, right? That's a different car.
No, yeah, that was the blue car. That's the car we started with.
Yep.
In 2013. I really liked that car. That car was I had a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears in that car. But that's part of racing. Sometimes these things happen, and we lost that car, and that gave birth to Alpha G. Alpha G would have never have been created if we wouldn't have lost that car. So it's kind of like something good came out of that bad situation. Okay.
And when you started developing Alpha G, what was the plan when the blue car was crashed, and then did you just think like let's start with a new car right from here? Or what was the plan for Alpha G when you started it?
Yeah, basically when we lost it, I mean, it took me a couple of weeks to kind of like think about, am I going to continue this path, or what are we going to do with this car? Because Alpha G at the time was an Alpha 12X, so the idea was the blue car was the race car. Alpha G at the time was an Alpha G. It was just an Alpha 12X I was driving on the street. So I sat with AMS and I said, you know what, let's just make this car as the best car we can make, like the fastest we can make. Let's just go for the record and build it just for that purpose. And that's the only purpose that the car was built for, is to get that quarter-mile record. And we got it. I mean, we definitely achieved it. It's just a very super, super competitive. There's some hungry shops that are doing amazing things, like Icanu, like ETS, like T1. Everybody's working their butts off to get some really fast cars. And obviously the competition is stiff because these cars are extremely fast, and everybody's innovating really fast, and it's just that record will change hands constantly. Yeah,
and the level of like you said, the level of engineering and design work and fabrication and all of that is far above what most shops are capable of, and that's why picking a shop has become very important. And so I actually wanted to ask you, how did you pick AMS? I mean, what did they offer that you couldn't get at a shop in San Francisco or something?
I mean, in the beginning, I picked them because just because of the packages and from the research I've done, and they had Omega at the time. At the time, they had the record, so they were the first of the 9, first of the 8s, first of the 7s. Hopefully, it will be first of the 6s. But at the time, they had a track record that was proven, and that speaks volume. And I mean, if you have a shop that continuously gets somewhere quicker than anybody else, that means they're doing something right, and that's the reason that I picked them at the time. And at this point, I mean, they're all my friends. We don't have a business relationship. We have a friendship, just because we've been together from 4 years ago, and some highs and lows throughout the whole journey. So we're good friends. I call the owner all the time on his cell phone. I mean, I speak to the guys at the shop, the Ricky, the guy that built the car, Ivan, he's the guy that I looked up to when I got into racing, because he was the one driving Omega. Yep. So yeah, that's the shop I picked too. I mean, like you said, there's only a select few shops that are capable of doing that kind of work. And I think it's T1, ETS, and AMS are the ones that I would say are the ones that are the top notch. There's nothing around here that I could have used in the Bay Area at this level. So I just decided to send the car over there and have them work on it and have it stay there.
Okay. And the services they're offering to you is really like a full service race support, because they are trailering the car to these events. And are they they're bringing a motorhome? Are you staying in that as well? Like, is that to the level of hospitality they give you?
We don't sleep in the motorhome just because I'm too old to sleep in a motorhome. Gotcha. We just bring it to the track and we sleep at a hotel next to the track. Okay. Yeah, I mean they provide full service. But also, I mean, the car is mine, but it represents them. You know what I mean? So it's, even though it's my car and I drive it, I mean, the work that's been done on the car is AMS's work. So it works both ways.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're the one paying all the bills, but they use it as a development platform, and they can push things further than they've ever been able to, with the exception of Alpha Omega, which obviously is what got you to them in the first place. So that's an important thing for other shops to know is. You really do. If you want to pick up, somebody like Gidi as a customer, you definitely have to put the time and effort and the money to make a name for yourself before you can pick up these people who are willing to take it to this kind of level.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so you touched on it already, but I want to talk about breaking things. When you first got started, that first time you went with Shift S3ctor on I guess it was a road course, and then you did a straight line racing form. Did you have any idea of how often things break?
No. It's funny when you first started, and this is kind of something that I think a lot of guys that are first kind of looking at racing, and I'm speaking about specifically GTRs. I'm sure it happens everywhere else, but specifically the GTR. When I first started, I thought the motors and transmissions are in these cars for years, and they use the same motors and same transmission at all the events, but it really isn't true at the level that we're at. It depends. If you have an Alpha 10 or an Alpha 12, they do last a long time. Now, today, the parts have improved so much that even from 2 years ago to today, it's night and day. I mean, the parts are so much more reliable today than they were 2 years ago, or 3-4 years ago, just because they constantly improve the parts, getting stronger and stronger, and always going, what's the next weakest link, and then moving up, improving that, going to the next one. So at the time, it was just the beginning of GTRs really making this crazy power, 1,000 horsepower, and then we went to 1,200 horsepower, then we went to 15, 18, 20, now 2,500 horsepower. So at the time, I had no idea. I really thought that everything is reliable and they last for all this time, because you see all these videos. You don't see all the parts, all the times that parts break, because people don't want to advertise the parts that broke. So you don't really see it. So when things started breaking, I was shocked, because I was going, wait a minute, what do you mean? But I got the best of the best. How can it break? But we're pushing these cars so much farther than they were designed for that it's, that's the reason why things were breaking. And also it was at the beginning of the stages of getting these cars faster and faster. So things were breaking. It's not fun, because you think to yourself, look, I spent all this money and I got the best part and it still broke. And then you just come to the realization, after a while, I just realized that, if you want to be at the top with racing, things will break. If you can't handle it, then it's not for you. But parts will break constantly, and they do. Sadly, more in the GTR than in the Lambo. By the way, the Lambos are a lot more reliable, just because they have 10 cylinders instead of 6, so they're not being pushed as far. Okay. But things do break, and you just have to, realize that if you want to be racing and do good and be at the top, things are going to break all the time. Even though now, again, it's much better today than it was before. But
right. So before, when you had an Alpha 16, even when you were pushing the limits of that one broke well. But now you can probably put an Alpha 16 on it, and it will be pretty reliable,
now,
right?
Alpha 16 is a very reliable package right now. It's amazing what they can do with them. They're 7-second cars. They're running 7.8, 7.9s, and they're pretty much a street car. So Alpha 16 packages have improved, and I'm always amazed of what they keep getting better and better and better, and how they push them. When they first broke the 7, it was like 797, then 795, 790, 780s now are an Alpha 16. So it's just an amazing platform.
And your online presence, and I'm friends with you on Facebook, but I've met you in person a couple times, but it's just saying hi and congratulations here and there, but your online presence is never, you're never that person that's blaming other people. When stuff breaks, you're like, let's go fix it, let's do it again sort of attitude, which is commendable. Like, not a lot of people can do that, and I don't understand why people can't figure out that stuff breaks. And so that says a lot about you as a customer as well. Does AMS have to like, when you were kind of figuring this out, that stuff breaks a lot, did they kind of have to let you know that, this is a new product and you're the only one pushing it this hard, it's going to break, or it may break?
Yeah, they definitely made that, pointed out that fact that the shops, you have to understand, are in a really, really that's a tough business to be in, because, we want to have the fastest car and to be reliable, and when things break, it's a shop fault.
Right.
The shops are in a horrible position, just because they want to make your car fast, but when the parts break, everybody kind of points their finger at them. And if it's a reputable shop that does that does good work, and they all work really hard, it's really hard to blame anybody when parts break at this level. Mm-hmm. I rarely blame AMS for anything, because that's part of the deal. You're going to have a fast car, but things are going to break. But I accepted it, and it's just that I know how it is to run a business, and for them, they run a business that does a great job, in my opinion. It's just that, at the parts that break is part of doing business.
Right. Their business is to break things, because if you don't break it, you can't push it any further, right?
If you're not breaking anything, you're not going fast enough.
Right. Okay, so kind of walk us through, like, how does AMS communicate with you during these builds? Do they have somebody who's like a dedicated salesperson or a dedicated technician for your car that calls you and lets you know what they're going to do? Kind of walk us through how your build goes.
Yeah, so I work with one of the sales representatives. His name is Dan, so I have a very close relationship with him. We text each other. I text Martin all the time. We come up with a plan of what we're going to do, what's the goal is going to be with the plan, and then we talk about it. We do a conference call, just because I'm so far away, and we agree on everything, and then things start moving in that direction, and they'll kind of update me throughout the build. If I see things that I don't like, or if I want to go in a different direction, I kind of let them know, and we move to a different direction. But we definitely discuss everything that goes through a build. I mean, it's not something that, we're just going to build the car and then move forward, and I don't know anything. I just come in and drive the car. It's something that I like to be involved in, because I'm the one driving the car, so I kind of want to know what we're going into. But yeah, we communicate about everything, basically. I have a very close relationship with them, so I'll text Martin after hours and talk to him, or I'll text Dan after hours or on holidays and talk to them. But it's a that's what I like. There's no like, don't call me on a Saturday, or don't talk to me on a Sunday, or there's a holiday. There's no such thing.
And I presume they're sending you pictures all the time of what's going on, and they have like, as far as like even like invoicing and billing and stuff, they are always on the ball with letting you know what the bill is going to be. There's no hidden surprises with anything with them? No. I mean, I get the invoices. We go over them together. Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious about everything, so I always ask questions. I'm not one of these people that get an invoice and just sends a check. I want to know exactly what went into the car. Mm-hmm. Why is the labor, let's say 10 hours, what was done exactly to the car, what parts exactly went on to the car. So I discuss every invoice that I get. I discuss it. We break it down part by part by part. I discuss everything with them, because I want to know everything that was built for. And of course, what went into the car and what I can expect.
Okay, gotcha. And that's why you're a successful person, is because you're meticulous, right?
Yeah, I'm very, very picky.
And I presume UGR is the same kind of level. I mean, it's a different platform, but it's the same. I mean, everybody thinks of UGR as the pinnacle of, like Lamborghini and even really half-mile racing, for that matter. And I'm assuming it's the same kind of situation with them.
Yes, I talk to Kevin all the time. Again, I see Kevin as a close friend, and we communicate all the time as far as what we're going to do for the next race. I started with a half mile. I didn't start with the drag racing. Drag racing kind of came in afterwards. So half mile was was the thing we started the car. Even though we started it with a GTR, the Lambos. The reason behind the Lambo and the GTR, a lot of people ask me, why do you have a Lambo and a GTR? Or why did you split the shops? The reason behind it is the half mile. The Lambos do better in the half mile. Seems to be doing better right now. The GTRs are catching up, but seems to be doing better in the half mile, and the GTR seems to be doing better in a quarter mile. So the two cars were designated. We're going to have a half mile car with the best shop in the world, in my opinion, which is the UGR for the Lamborghinis, and we're going to have a quarter mile car with the best shop in the world, in my opinion, which is AMS. So that was the reason and how we designated the two cars and the two purposes for the races.
Okay, that's awesome. And the event planning you kind of do for this, like how many events do you pick you want to do, or how many events a year do you decide that, or are they kind of telling you what they can do with how long it takes to rebuild the car after every event or fix the car after every event? And how quickly do they turn the car around for you?
Yeah, we discuss everything about the events. If it was up to me, I'd be doing 10 events a year, 15 events a year. But it's not up to me because it takes them a lot of time. The cars need to. Every time we do an event, the shops have to kind of stop what they're doing, prep the car, take it to the event. They have to take the techs from working on cars to the events because they have to support us at the event. So it's really hard for shops to do like 7, 8, 10 events because it does take a lot of time from actually working on cars at the shop. You have to move a whole crew with you. So it costs them a lot of time, energy, and money to do that. So we just discussed it. It's funny, in 2017, for the season with the Lambo, we'll probably do 3 or 4 events. With the GTR, we'll probably do also 3 or 4 events. So we try to divide it. So I'll probably do 8 events total in 2017. Okay.
So you're still getting a decent amount of seat time. It's just the shops have some time to fix the car in between events, catch up, right? and because you're exactly right, is when you have a race and they have all hands on deck to help you out, everybody else's car at the shop kind of has to get set aside until the event is over with, and then they got to catch back up again. So after the event, there's 2-3 weeks of catch-up time, and it's hard on a shop to schedule all that stuff in, because when your car gets back, it could be something as just, okay, do a nut and bolt check, and we can go to the next event, or it could be, well, the engine blew up and we need to redo the whole thing. So it varies wildly as far as after the event, what needs to be done to yours to get ready for the following event.
Correct. And also, I'm not the only car that comes from the shop. So usually UGR will bring 3 or 4 cars.
Yeah.
AMS will bring a couple cars. So that, there's other cars that will need to be serviced and prepped for the event and fixed after the event if there's any problem. So it's difficult. The events, they're fun and we all enjoy them, but they take a lot of hard work.
Okay. And the racing event you're doing, so this half-mile racing, it's not like a big TV, like World Challenge or NHRA or F1 or NASCAR, like those are like, like widely televised racing. So the racing you're doing, it's pretty popular online within like Facebook, social media stuff, but it's still a very niche type of racing. What really attracted you to it? And obviously you're spending a great deal of money doing it. Is it just the passion for doing it?
Yeah, the half mile especially were kind of like an underground events that just kind of started for a couple guys, maybe 20, 30 guys. Now the half mile events have grown, and I feel like the half miles are going to get bigger and bigger. Every time we go to an event now in the half mile, it's much bigger than it was the last time. So people really like the half mile events. It's exciting, especially at the speeds we're going now. When you get up to 250, it's starting to be really exciting. But the half miles, I think, will start to be mainstream in a few years and get a lot more recognition. But it's definitely a growing sport, in my opinion, the half mile. The quarter mile, everybody knows, whether GTR or no GTR, everybody knows the quarter mile. The half mile is something that's kind of up and coming.
And your audience being, there are obviously people attending the events, but I feel like a lot of the people attending the events are the people participating in the events. With everything else being online, what are you doing with AMS or UGR for marketing and social media? Because you kind of mentioned that you don't even really care if your logo's on the car, but you do it for you have a small one on there, and you do it for some kind of advertising purpose. But AMS and UGR, they have very cool videos they put out. What kind of process do you do with that, and how do you work with them on that?
As far as working with them on coming out to an event, AMS has just got a really good media team right now that's coming out with amazing videos. I don't know if you've seen the last 3 or 4 videos. They're doing a really good job, and it creates excitement, and people really react to it. And I don't do a lot of advertising on the car, but as far as online presence, I think Instagram and Facebook are 2 things that are very underutilized, because they're such powerful free tools that we have, and a lot of people don't take advantage of them. So a lot of the things I do now are Instagram and Facebook related, just because it's such a powerful tool that has a unlimited reach. I mean, I have people in other countries that text me private message me all the time of how they love what we do and how exciting, and please keep going. And it's amazing how people react to what they see, whether it be in a video from the AMS crew or whether it just be something that we uploaded to either Facebook or Instagram. So that's what I use as far as advertising. The car, I mean, gets the stickers, not so much big, nothing screaming on the car, but using the Facebook and Instagram to reach out to people, that's the strongest tool.
Okay. And being at the pinnacle of these sports, your reach is very wide. So I'm sure you get people messaging you or following you from literally all over the world. Constantly. It's just something that it takes a lot. It's funny. I don't like to ignore people. It's just something ever since I was a kid. I never liked being ignored. So when people text me, I really try to answer everybody, but it takes a lot of my time to answer. And I try to answer, and I do talk to people on Instagram and Facebook that take the time to message me and tell me that they really like the sport. How can you ignore somebody who tells you that they really like what you do and it's awesome and they love the car? So I usually try to get back to them and talk to most people that text me, but it takes a lot of time and energy. What do you find most people are asking you? Are they asking you about like what's done to the car, or are they asking you like what it's like driving the car? What kind of questions are these people asking you? A lot of people, want more kind of information of what do I recommend as far as parts, what size is the motor, what fuel we're using, these kind of things that I think that they're the basics that they're interested in. And then some people want to build something and need some advice and ask me what shop to go to or what parts to use, stuff that I recommend is usually what people want to know. Okay, and does AMS, I was about to look here, but does AMS have like a build thing on their webpage for the Alpha G? Do they have like a build profile? I don't think we have a build sheet on it, just because it's constantly changing. But maybe it might be something we should do. But it's I got to talk to them about it. I don't think we have one as of now. They need to finalize it and make sure it run your 699 or whatever you need, and then put up a build sheet, right? Yeah, this so is what you'll need. Fluid. 699. Okay, what's the worst experience you've had in racing? And if you could, would you do it over again? The worst experience would have to be losing the blue car. That was no fun at the time. Would I do that whole thing again? Absolutely. That's how we started, and you learn a lot from accident. It humbles you, and it just teaches you that it's all fun and everything, but it all can end real quick if things go wrong. But I'll absolutely be doing that again. It'll take a lot more than that to get me to stop racing. and I got to ask though, you can't insure a car like that, or is it insured? So no. But it wasn't a total loss because the car was not smashed to smithereens. Like obviously the engine, transmissions, most of that stuff should have been okay. Is that correct? Yeah, the parts from the car were I took a lot of the parts and resold the parts, but the car itself is gone. I mean, there's no. We were thinking about doing something with it, but it was just too much work to try to fix, and it was you can get a new car by the amount of time, money, and energy you put in trying to fix that when you hit the wall. So we decided to just let it go. Right, exactly. So what's something you're doing right now that has you fired up?
Just getting ready for the 2017. There's a lot of new things that are going to be coming on. I mean, it amazes me how the shops innovate and their drive to go fast. It's great because they're not there sleeping and me pushing. It's actually they're pushing to go faster, and I'm just going, yeah, let's do it. So 2017, a lot of new things coming in on the Lambos, a lot of things coming in on the Alpha G. So it's going to be exciting. Every year in the sport, if you look at what we did in a year, so in 2015, the half mile record was 234. In 2016, the half mile record was 247. I mean, that's huge. People don't realize how much of that gap, how fast that gap is. And then, the GTR going from just hitting sevens to now hitting sixes in a year. It's incredible. So a lot of good things coming up in 2017 that I'm very excited about, and I'm actually can't wait for that season to start.
Very cool. I'm excited to see what you guys do as well. So, what's something you struggle with in business, or really in racing, and then how do you deal with it?
In racing, the only thing that I struggle with is breaking parts, and especially if we're going to an event and you want to do good for the fans, for the people that are there, and you want to impress and you want to run fast times and you want to put up a show, and if we go out there and something happens and we can't, that's something that really kills me when that happens, because you feel like you let everybody down. But when we were at Shootout, I remember everybody waited. We finished all the runs, and then I went up to the tower and I said, before you close the track, can I please have one more run? And the guy goes, okay, you can have one more run. And people waiting for that one last run, and we try to put a lot of power in that run and get something really good. And a lot of people stayed until midnight just to watch that run. And then I had a sensor go out, and we kind
couldn't do anything.
Didn't go anywhere. It was mid run and didn't go. And then I went up to the tower and again, please give me one more time, please. And he said, okay, one more time. And then we tried it again on the sensor. we couldn't get it again. So racing, the only thing that I find difficult is if I let down people, if we break parts. Okay. As far as in work, just time. I wish I had more time to put more time into the actual business side of it, because the racing has taken so much of my time. Right now in the off season, though, I can concentrate on the business. But when we're on, when the season starts, I'm always at events, and when we go to events, I have to leave like Wednesday till Sunday. So a lot of times I'm gone most of the week, but just time.
Okay. Do you have a 1-year plan for the racing team?
We go by season, so I don't look a year ahead. I look at the next season that comes up. Mm-hmm. Of course, for 2017, we put a plan together on what we're going to do with the GTR, and we're going to do a few changes. Try to make more power, maybe go lighter even on the weight, and of course sixes. That's the plan. First of the sixes is huge. After that, everybody's going to start hitting sixes, but we want to be first of the sixes. Everybody wants that. It's the race to be the first one. After that, it's like, he went six. So that's the plan for the GTR, the Lambos. We just want to go, over the 250 threshold. Okay.
And do you have an event planned pretty soon here for the Alpha G? Is that what you're saying? I'm guessing you're starting immediately, right?
Yeah.
The season starts immediately.
It's not really an event. We're just, we want to go out again. So we're trying to put something together where we can find the time to go out. And the problem is in the Midwest right now, that's really cold. Yeah. So we need to we need to go south somewhere. So we need to find a good track with the right temperature, and because it takes so much time and energy to go out and rent a track. So everything, we have to make sure that the weather's going to be good, that the timing's going to be good, that there's going to be sun on the track. It's not going to be an overcast day. So a lot of planning, but we definitely want to go out as soon as possible. When you lose the record, it's like a kick in the gut. You want to go out and get it back again. It's like you tasted something and you went up to the highest you can go, and then boom, you got kicked back down again. So we want to get that back.
Okay.
So that's the plan for me.
Will you guys be at the GTR? Is it called the GTR Invitational? That's a new event this year, correct?
Yes, that's actually something we're looking forward to. It's very exciting. It's in February 3rd and 4th.
Okay.
GTR World Cup, it's called, and it's in Florida.
Okay.
And we're looking forward to that. That's gonna be the first official event for the GTR. And after that, we'll do TX2K. For sure, we'll be in TX2K. Then we're gonna do some Shift Sector half-mile events. Then we're gonna be at Shootout. So we have a lot planned for 2017.
Cool. Have you planned beyond next year, or do you have like a 5-year plan at all, or anything beyond that?
Nah, not really. It's hard to plan because the things are moving so fast.
Evolve quickly, huh?
Yeah, everything evolves so fast, so it's really hard to plan for something like that. It's just, I look at the next 6 months and try to do the best we can at that, and then just keep moving up and up and up after that.
So I got to ask, do you assign like a budget to these cars personally or to the team?
It's funny. It starts like that. You always assign a budget. I'm not going to go over this amount. That amount is decimated within the first few weeks because racing, it is such an expensive sport. You think it's going to be a certain amount and it's triple. But it's, I stopped counting and I stopped putting budgets together a long time ago because you're just going to blow right through it.
Awesome. Okay. And we like to take action on Do It for a Living. Can you suggest an action item our listeners can use to improve their situations? Particularly shops. Like, I mean, you're like, I guess you could say a whale of a customer. What can other shops do to attract customers like yourself?
Well, they need to have proven performance. That's one thing I think that people react to is like, look, that car is consistently doing well, or doesn't have to break a record, but it has to consistently show up to events and do well. It doesn't have to be right there on top. It's just people want to see that it's reliable and consistent. And that the shop is trustworthy. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of problems with shops in the past, and I think a lot of the shops today are much improved. They're all hardworking people. They all want to do good, and they all want the cars to run well, and that's the goal for everybody. But they have to be honest and consistent. Those are the two things that I would be looking for.
Okay. You're looking for real professional shops, then. is basically what it is. Okay.
Correct.
All right, let's go to some quick answer questions here. So just kind of say the first thing that comes to mind. What is the a game-changing product you've seen in the last year?
The billet block.
It is pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, it just gives us the ability to push a lot harder. That's the beautiful thing about shops like AMS is they continuously want to come up with better, stronger, longer lasting parts, and that definitely was a game changer.
Okay. And what's a favorite app that you use daily on your phone?
I am stuck with Facebook, I tell you, but just because it's like I continuously communicate with people throughout the day from all over the world. Again, it's the reach that Facebook has given people is just phenomenal. It's just like you can reach anybody, anytime, any place, and that's the app that I actually Facebook. I do a lot of business on Facebook as well. A lot of guys reach out to me as far as his rings and diamonds and questions and wanting to do something, and you can send pictures, and the ability to communicate with people is great on Facebook. So that's the app that is always in use.
And what are you daily driving?
I have an IS250, Lexus IS250 that I drive from the office and in the city, dropping stuff off, picking things up. I really like Lexuses for a daily.
Yeah, a very subtle car. It's nice, but it's subtle, awesome. Huh?
Yeah, it's just a joy to drive.
Okay. What do you think the future of automotive performance is going to be?
You know what I do wish is that there would be more recognition of the sport. I wish more people would or businesses would sponsor cars and events. I just think that it's just going to get better and better and better. and people will start paying attention because the public really loves the sport. It's exciting for them, and there's more and more people that are going into it. So I just wish that companies like, the usual companies that sponsor Lucas Oil or Red Bull or all those big companies would start sponsoring people like me or cars that are doing well, because there's more and more exposure to them as we start doing better, as we go into the 60s, as we go 250, as we go 300 maybe in a mile, things will start going, wow, look at that, because it's we start making a little more noise each year, so maybe we'll start getting sponsors. That'll be a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And what's interesting is I don't think anybody's even said anything remotely close to that, but I think you're on point. Is companies outside of the core people who are already involved in it really should be involved in this racing or get involved with it.
Yeah, that's something I've wished from day one, is for them to get involved and support, and they get a lot back in return, because again, this is just, I feel like this is like the UFC in 1993, just at the beginning of what this is going to be. There's so much potential in this, and it's only going to grow. And I see it every time we go to an event. It used to be, we used to go to Shift S3ctor in Coalinga, and there would be 100 people. Then there'll be 500 people. Then there's 1,000 people. Now there was a couple of events we went to that had like 20,000 people. I mean, it's huge. So it's things are evolving, and more people are interested in the sport, and they'll get a lot of exposure over that. Cool.
Well, how do we connect with you and your team?
You can go to my Facebook page, Diamonds by Wire Racing, on Facebook. Instagram is Gidi28, Gidi28. Those are the two best ways.
Perfect. Hey, Gidi, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. It's a different take on how we have done this podcast, but that's what we've been focusing on, is getting different perspectives of this industry. So I thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app,